Today we'll be reviewing the algebra concept order of operations for geometry. So order of operations, the collection of rules that define which operations perform first. So it's the order of how you solve a problem, basically, with evaluation. So step one, you want to evaluate expressions that have any grouping symbols. Step two, you evaluate all powers. Step three, you do multiplication from left to right, which is how you read. Step four, you would do addition to subtraction from left to right. And then this little table down here gives us some examples. So it's PEMDAS. So parentheses are any grouping. So you can have parentheses, brackets, braces, absolute values, even fraction bars. The E is exponents. It can be radicals too, so it's all your powers. So you can have something to a power of A, or you can take the square root or cube root of something. The MD is multiplication and division, and then the AS is addition subtraction, so PEMDAS. So here, we're going to go ahead and start doing that. So the first one, it says evaluate each expression, and we have a -5 minus a -6 divided by 2. So following order of operations, the first thing I would want to do is divide, because I don't have any grouping and there are no exponents. So I'd have -5 minus, well, -6 divided by 2 would be -3. You could rewrite this, because when you take minus and negative, it'd be plus. So you're actually taking -5 plus 3, which gets us a final answer of -2. For my next one, I start by looking for any grouping. I actually do have grouping right here, so I do that first. Well, -2 plus 5 is going to get me 3. I have divided by 3 minus a -1. So I'm just going to rewrite this one. So 3 minus 3 divided by 3, and then this minus negative would become plus. So next would be any exponents. Well, I don't have any. So then I move to multiplication division. So I'm going to have 3. And then I take a -3 divided by 3, which is going to give me a -1. And then you go left to right. Well, 3 minus 1 is 2, and 2 plus 1 is going to get me an answer of 3. Now for this one where we're evaluating, it gives us values to plug in. So for this first one, we have 2k plus n, so 2. And then my k up in the directions, they have k as -2. So I'd be plugging in a -2. Plus my n, which they give me is -4, over p, which they say is 5, and -3. So the fraction bar works as grouping. So we have our top part grouped together and our bottom part. So after grouping is exponents. There are none. So then I move on to multiplication division. So first, when I do multiplication, this top part, it's 2 times a -2, which gets me -4. If I'm adding a negative, it's technically just subtraction. So -4. And then we have 5 minus 3. Next, I would actually do the subtraction that we have. Well, a -4 minus 4 is -8. And 5 minus 3 is 2. So I've finished my actual grouping now, because I have the top part simplified as far as I can, and I have the bottom part simplified as far as I can. So next, I would take the -8 divided by 2, which gets me an answer of -4. So for the next example, we have -3. Oops. Our k is -2, but this is squared, plus our 2 times n, which is -4. So I work inside my grouping, so I'd work inside this big set of parentheses. Inside there, my first step would be any powers I have. I actually have a squared, so I have to do that first. Well, -2 squared is going to get me a +4, because any number times itself will always end up being positive when it's squared. And I got plus, and I'll just take it one step at a time. So next, inside my parentheses, I would work on multiplication. So this 4 stays the same. 2 times -4 is going to give me a -8. Next, inside my parentheses, I would do the addition. Well, 4 plus a -8 is -4. And then -3 times -4 gets me an answer of 12. So that's it for page 1 of these notes. Page 2, this first example, we have to evaluate this expression they give us up here. So I'd plug the things in where they need to go. So it says r, which they tell me is -3, divided by 3 minus q, which is -5, plus q squared. So -5 squared. So first I'd look for any grouping. There is none. So then I move on to powers. So this beginning part is going to basically be the same. I'm just going to make this a +5 to make it easier. Then plus, well, -5 squared is a +25. So next, after powers, is multiplication division. Well, I'd be taking this -3 divided by 3. So that's going to give me a -1. I have a +5 plus 25. So next you do your addition, subtraction, left to right. Well, -1 plus 5 is 4. And then 4 plus 25 gets me a final answer of 29. So this example introduces absolute values, which is still grouping. So you start by plugging in the numbers where they go. So I have 3. A is -2 minus my B, which is -4, plus 2. C, which is 3. And we have a -5. So I work inside my grouping, so inside my absolute values. Well, -2 minus a -4 gets me a +2. And then 3 minus 5 is going to get me a -2. Absolute values make you turn those numbers into positive numbers. So this is going to be a +2. And then this -2 will become positive. And the absolute value with the number in front of it represents multiplication. That's why I rewrote it as multiplication. So 3 times 2 gets me 6. 2 times 2 gets me 4. And then finally, our 6 plus 4 is going to get me 10. So that's it for our order of operation lesson.